Hi, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's session of the Field Sales Series. I'm Allison, and I'm thrilled to have you all here as we dive into another insightful conversation on field sales. This series is all about bringing together top sales professionals to share their expertise, and today's topic, process excellence, is a game changer for anyone looking to optimize their workflow and drive success in the field. So we have a fantastic session set up today. Without further ado, I'll hand it off to our host, JT, to kick things off. JT, take it away.
We've got two great leaders that I really respect joining us today. Two men I respect for the way in which they lead, in Greg Sitkowitz and Brent Madigan. So before I welcome you, let me do a little bit more, little background for you. Greg Sitkowitz, Chief Commercial Officer of Akumin. He's got a strong career in roles of general manager, VP, SVP roles, all within GE Healthcare and Philips. And Brent Madigan, National Sales Director at Philips Emergency Care. I love stories like Brent's. Quickly rose through the ranks over more than 13 years with, I think it's more than 6 different positions within Philips. So leadership clearly, Brent, recognized talent early and clearly often as well. So Greg and Brent, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us, JT.
Yes, sir. So Greg, we're going to start with you. Just to provide a little bit more context for the attendees, share a bit around starting with what Akumin does and who is the customer.
Yeah, sure. We're the second biggest radiology company in radiation delivery, service delivery. So we run kind of 3 business lines. One is our we call it fixed sites, where we do retail radiology, MR, CTs, PET CTs, outpatient imaging. We're in 22 states with our fixed imaging business. Our second division is mobile radiology, so trailers, MRs and CTs on trailers, and we're the largest mobile radiology company in the space. We have a little over 900 hospitals that we work with. And then our third division is oncology, radiation therapy, where we have joint ventures doing oncology. So we're the kind of the story of Akumin was it was an aggregation of about 12 acquisitions over 10 years, so that were really never integrated together. And so I joined just about a year ago. New private equity company took over and said, we got to go reignite growth. So it's been a lot of building processes from the ground up, and that's why I came to my customers for a lot of help.
Super exciting there. Let me get a little bit more context for folks. Can you share anything around the structure and size of your outside field sales team?
Yeah. We have we're right at $800 million. And so we have 6 sales divisions, about 150 outside sellers, and we're broken into 2 groups. One group is referral sales. And so these are sales professionals that are going out to physician groups to market our centers and have, orders, referrals sent to us and send patients to our centers. The second group is more of like new capital. So going out and working with healthcare systems and radiologists to provide the actual assets themselves. So really different sales processes, but we have both.
Awesome. And then because the world of outside sales and sales leadership is so, I'll just say unique with the way that different people manage, give us a little bit of context, approximate number of accounts that a rep might be responsible for, and then any expectations that you have of number of days a week in the field and number of accounts or meetings they should hold a day.
Yeah, and this is an evolving topic because now we have the data, and we're actually really we're being very mindful about not only how many accounts, but the quality of the interactions, of course. Generally speaking, 10 seems to be like a number that's really doable. 10 accounts that you're doing in a day, 5 days a week. That's for our referral sales team. So, going to physician offices. So, but we're we're looking at that again. That kind of is a minimum.
That's super helpful. Okay, so let me shift over to Brent. Same to you. Start out. What does Philips Emergency Care do, and who is the customer?
Yeah, perfect. And I'll just put a point of clarification. So recently I've, in the last week or so, I've left Philips, involved in a whole bunch of startups, hopefully to grow another MapMy customer opportunity here. But excited for the next stage in my career and what we were able to accomplish at Philips in a short period of time. So I was in charge of the EMS division. We sold cardiac monitors into hospitals, hospital-based EMS, as well as EMS facilities, private and both public. And we also carried multiple product lines, whether it was point of care ultrasound into those markets, as well as AEDs. So we had a very broad customer base of EMS agencies spread across the country. There's a lot more EMS agencies than there is hospitals out there. And MapMy Customers was a great tool for us. When we were looking at it, just to provide some context, Philips acquired remote diagnostic technologies in 2018. We launched it in 2020 with a go-to-market strategy for the cardiac monitor, and we really built the sales team around it. So we scaled our sales team. What started was about 8 reps, and we pretty much tripled that in time with 2 sales managers, 2 zones, a lot of AEs. And really we used it as a tool to be able to use our time more wisely and do a better job of gathering data and providing value back to our reps. So that's kind of the landscape of it, JT.
So I'm grateful for that. Look really quickly, Brent is being very humble about this. This was, I hope this is permissible for me to share like this. This was an FDA type thing at Philips. Guys, Brent's an incredible sales leader. He's on the market, just to be awkward and throw that out there. This is like first come, first serve there.
I appreciate that. Thank you, JT.
So we think super highly of you. Real quickly, expectation number of days in the week, stops a day. Any metrics around there that you had?
Yeah, and any large company, what we were facing was a lot of conference calls and not enough selling, right? And first thing we did was we made a little internal rule with the managers to say, hey, any customer that we're facing, we really need to be customer facing at least 4 days a week and get the bureaucratic and the processes off our desk so we can go sell. MapMy was a great tool to help measure that and see what the value we were getting out of that. So the expectation is that we were out selling at least 4 days a week and seeing at least 2 to 3 customers a day was the ultimate goal. But sometimes it was one great meeting, sometimes it was a multiple of cold calls throughout the day, and we were able to track those things using MapMy.
Awesome. That's actually a great segue into our first topic here. So world of outside sales, arguably the most expensive go-to-market strategy out there. Efficiency matters. Across all industries, we actually see the average outside sales rep spending less than 20% of their work week actually in front, face-to-face with customers. Efficiency matters. So Greg, we're going to get back to this in just a little bit, but I love it whenever a leader is saying, no, there's 5 work days a week. We're going to see customers 5 work days a week. I get on soapboxes around admin days on Monday and Friday. So you're taking the rep out of the field 2 days a week, oftentimes with outside sales teams. So let's start with efficiency. How do you help ensure reps are being efficient with their time?
Yeah, my general thought process, I've always had this philosophy as managers. I frame my leadership in saying, I'm going to assume a rep can get to 80% of their plan by themselves. My job is to help them with the next 20%, which coincidentally is also the growth aspect. If you think about growing year over year, it's kind of like you can do what you did last year, and then we need to grow. When I do that, then it puts me in the mindset of saying, okay, like how can I help the reps do that? And I think a lot of it is about insights that they may not be having. The insights could be on a customer level. The insights could be on a territory level. So where are you going? The frequency of your going, where you're not going. So I think that, your question is around productivity, but for me, it starts with, do you even have the right insights? You're walking into an account. How much information do you have about that account? how much time did you spend researching it, and can we put that in your hands so that you're really armed with a message, something that's valuable for the client that you're about to go see. So I think it started with the insights. The next step is the productivity. So I almost reversed it. I said, like, how do we get our reps really good at their job, and then efficiency comes second for me.
Okay, I like that. When you said,
and I'll just I'll give you a specific example where I'm in 2025. One of the things that we're going to tackle is being very mindful about productivity. And one of the things that we can see is when folks are crisscrossing their territories, and so you can see the little dotted lines going back and forth. And there's probably a really good reason for that. It's if we haven't had the time to go tackle and say, does that make sense? We empower the reps to own their territory and kind of manage that. But productivity does matter, and so if we could say, hey, we want you to go to this area, or you decide as a territory manager that you're going to go into this area, stay in that geographic area, and then this also forces you to call on accounts that you normally wouldn't be walking into. So it's both a productivity and a forced cold calling thought process.
So we love that, because we always make the jokes of like the salesman Death Star across the territory when you're driving by all of these top target accounts, when you could just be like vastly increasing the number of face-to-faces that you have throughout the day. So Brent, I'll ask the same thing. How do you help ensure reps are being efficient with their time?
Yeah, Greg said it great. I think one thing I'd add is one thing we had was turnover, right? And we had new reps coming into a territory, and we weren't doing a good job of storing the data within our systems for making a new rep successful. It would take several months to not only learn the product and the sales cycle and the skills, but they didn't know where to start and begin in their territories. So one thing we really added from a productivity standpoint that MapMy allowed us to do was to go out and understand our customer contact information, our customer install base, and we could run a lot of reports to say, hey, if you're just starting in the territory and you're not sure where to begin because we were growing, look at MapMy, look at the aged install base target accounts. Another area of productivity, and you said it well, JT, in the beginning, is it's extremely expensive to build an outside sales team and be efficient. From a manager standpoint, what I like to do is if I flew into a territory, I would immediately try to pull MapMy up, look at what other customers in the area that we maybe haven't seen in a while, that was an aging install base that we would come up for an RFP, RFI soon. And we would use that data to say, hey, let's go say hi to them. Let's stop in. Let's go cold call. And it created an environment that, even at a leadership level, we were okay with knocking on doors and stopping in too. And I think that's a big part of this job.
I think what's interesting about MapMy customers, and specifically something, Brent, I was thinking about as you were talking, is, when you're selling capital equipment, you can instantly see if a rep is successful or not. It's pretty easy to measure. Did you get an order? In referral sales, that's a lot harder to do. So it's hard to draw the direct correlation between field activity and just call it growth in general. So when there is growth, you say, okay, that's the rep, but it could also be other things in the center. I mean, we do a lot of advertising. There could be other variables outside the rep themselves, the territory managers. However, with MapMy customers, we're beginning to draw a direct line between field activity and field intensity of that activity, meaning like a frequency thing, and actual impact from that physician group. So if there's anybody in the audience that's doing referral-based sales, tools like this become super, super valuable.
What strategies do you use to help them prioritize top accounts? Is there anything that you do around that?
Yeah, I mean, we buy third-party data, so outside data that shows gives us insights into market share, and so we have pretty good understanding of what are the big practice areas out there and what type of volumes are they doing, and we can match that with our data and just kind of see who do we have, who don't we have, what does our share look like, and develop plans off of that.
Okay, so I knew that about you. What this is this is definitely bleeding into the next topic of data, but we all know that outside sales reps, I mean this endearingly, outside sales reps are fickle people, right? If you give them something that they don't see valuable, or you make them do too much admin stuff, they get a nervous tick and they just don't do stuff. So has there been any focus on reducing admin burdens to help them focus just on selling?
One thing, the value had to be there for the rep, because it was tough to get the buy-in as an organization without the rep seeing the value of what we were trying to create, right? So I always say is, let's describe it as why this is important to the rep. And one thing that we talked about a lot was when we tried to do this in Salesforce, it was really challenging, right? We wanted to get good data, but Salesforce wasn't really an easy tool for them to be able to use in the field. They were having to get back to their computers, put that data into Salesforce, and then go back out into the field. And that's the last thing I wanted to create. So the application from a rep standpoint is really simple. They can create an account easily. They can input the data extremely easy of what we wanted to with just a couple of drop downs, and they could do it in a few minutes, and it was stored in a central location for them. So they could go back at any point in time and access that data. And I think when the reps started to understand that this was a tool really designed for them, it wasn't a big brother tool where you're just trying to measure how many people you saw. This was a powerful tool that you could use too for reporting mechanisms, for managing your territory. They really started to come around. But it's, there is a learning curve to anything, and change is always tough in any organization.
Yeah. And to piggyback off that, I think that, like many people in the audience, I've spent a lot of hours beating sales teams up about Salesforce hygiene. And then, what I think, kind of piggybacking on what Brent said, like anything that we wanted to do that was creative or, programmatic was being done off of Excel spreadsheets. And compliance to that was horrible. It was massive, intensely manual, no automation. And so now, with tooling, with like Map My Customers, we can institutionalize that really easy. And, the adoption has been really, really easy and straightforward, which means it is helpful to the reps. It is valuable to them and how they manage their business.
Awesome. Real quickly, just because you're talking about referral-based selling, Greg, for that referral team, the way that we see that in market, it is an unbelievably dependent on relationships, because it can literally be a reminder-based sale where you show up and you remind Dr. Smith that you're there, that you care, you're going to be consistent. You typically get the first call. So ensuring ways that are really easy for a rep to continually go back at a nice frequency to those providers typically, leads to success.
Yeah, I think awareness is a really big thing. I think, but it's also insights. How are we performing? We're giving the reps a lot of data on patient volumes, on turnaround times, on type of procedures that are being sent over. So we're almost doing like business reviews with large physician groups on how we're accommodating their patients. So all of that is kind of being built out.
Let's go into data. Greg, you specifically mentioned that you are purchasing third-party data. We see it all the time. Folks spending six figures plus with Definitive Healthcare, Symphony, Trilliant. How are you disseminating that data based on patient volume, scripts written, referrals? How are you currently getting that in front of your reps, or even are you?
Yeah, we are. I think it's a journey. I think all the answers to these questions are like, this is what we've done, this is where we're going. So it's really something that builds over time. We've accomplished a lot. There's much more to go do. I think that it goes back to the comment on insights. So it's more of just saying what do they know about their territory? It's the known knowns and the known unknowns. So how are we helping them identify new opportunities and new places to go? And specifically, I think the third-party data gives insights into what to say. Like, what are we talking about? What are so yes, it's one thing to know that this is a big physician group. it's one thing to know their specialty. It's another thing to know like what type of procedures they're sending over, and and then as we build out and get new equipment in centers, what new types of procedures can we accommodate that we previously, anything from whole body scanning to new neuro tracers that for PET CTs for oncology. So there's all these new kind of capabilities that we have, and giving reps insights into where to go and what to say is super important.
Let me add on real quickly. I had a conversation about 6 months ago with a great med device leader, and this particular woman had this saying of know, show, and go. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And so they're purchasing definitive healthcare data. She says that any outside sales leader that leads a team, if you as the sales leader don't know where a rep should be spending time, you're not going to be able to show them where to go. And you're certainly not going to be able to hold them accountable to going there. So I get on this soapbox, a big one, with the purchase, the high dollar amount that it costs to purchase that data. And then we regularly see med device companies disseminate that via spreadsheet to their reps. And I had a conversation the other day with somebody where he's like, yeah, none of my outside reps are really good at doing VLOOKUPs in spreadsheets. And it's because outside sales reps don't do that type of thing. They don't have that skill set nor the desire. So long story short, we see the most successful med device, med diagnostic customers prioritizing by decile, by scripts, by referrals to say, this is your anchor appointment. You got to go see Dr. Murray because they do a high volume of scans each month. But then you've got smaller deciles right around. So for the love of Pete, knock on those doors as well.
Yeah, and you're touching on, we've been talking a lot about the reps. We haven't really spent any time talking about the managers and how managers, if you think about how managers use Salesforce, it's not really, it's more of a reporting tool, if anything else. With Map My Customers, it transforms really what a manager can do from a coaching standpoint, and really helping the rep be good at their job. I don't know, Brent, how have you guys used it like that?
Yeah, well said, Greg. I looked at Salesforce. It was an operational tool to be able to get quotes through a system, and then we forecasted out of Salesforce. But it wasn't a value-added tool from a manager having quality conversations to drive what you wanted to see out of an organization and have the right data points on your one-on-ones, or even as you go out into the field as a manager to set expectations and lead by example is the best way I can say it. Because if you're a manager and you're out there doing those things, the more apt that rep's going to go out there and act upon it too. So yeah, it is a great tool to be able to hold accountability, but also set expectations appropriately.
I personally speak with outside sales leaders all day, every day, people that are running fantastically large teams. And I still run into the scenario where we hire adults and they own their own book of business, and they end up flying completely blind as to what makes a top rep successful, what improvements does an underperforming rep need to make. So I think all of that, I love what you're doing there.
One thing I'd highlight here, JT, too, it was a platform for the entire organization to be successful. Having that data for marketing, we were able to really target SEO around where we wanted to spend our dollars from a zip code level, right? Because we knew these customers of this age were going to need to buy soon, right? And it helped inside sales because it was an easier tool for inside sales to make the calls, get the data, and push that opportunity to the sales team. So when you get your organization around it from both a marketing, inside sales, and outside sales perspective, it really starts to create a one-team approach.
Awesome. Look, I only have a couple of more questions, so I want to remind the audience, please ask additional questions. I'm going to go to hiring and onboarding new reps. So any particular strategies, experience that you have most effective for hiring and onboarding new reps?
One of the managers just told me, Tracy, Tracy's listening in, she said she actually shows prospective candidates the Map My Customer tool in the interview process. to really just show the rigor that we expect as a job expectation. And then she's had several people self-select out and say, this is not for me, which is fantastic. It's like, great. We both learned. So I thought that was pretty novel. Like it's I think it's just setting a standard within the organization.
Greg, I think you've actually, Brent, you have as well, met Joe McDonald of Jasper. They do the exact same thing. If you get to a certain stage of their interview process, you have to do it. They actually make you do a ride along with one of the reps, starting at X time in the morning, 13 good calls a day. And so it's like, this is the Novocaine. It's going to work. Just give it time. These are the processes you're going to follow. And every once in a while, they have people go, I want to work here, but I am not going to buy in to that level of work. And so it's like self-selecting out of, I don't have that horsepower to put forth that much effort. And you'd rather know it then than 6 months in, right? So I appreciate that. Brent, any comments or feedback on that one?
No, just I would emphasize that, I think it's a great expectation setting tool. And I think the more that the reps feel that they're getting value out of it and they get their leads and they understand how to use their time, the better it's going to be perceived culturally in any organization, right? And I think it can come off, if you do it wrong, as maybe a little bit big brotherish, and that's a term that was thrown around. But if you're using it the right way, we're all in this business to succeed as reps. We're not going to make money sitting behind a computer. We're going out and selling and using our time wisely. And that's exactly what this tool does. And as you bring that through your organization, it's making sure you define the why around all those things.
Yeah, we spent a good bit of time talking about that from a performance-driven organization, like how, in your own life, what do you measure? And if you've ever done a workout program and you're documenting how you're compliant to yourself around, you're not showing anybody this, but how many workout apps does everybody have on their phones, or to-do list, or anything that you're documenting? If you want to advance anything, you have to write it down, and you have to hold yourself accountable. And so that's the spirit. Actually, I had a whole Olympic theme because the Olympics were relatively around the time. But, world-class performances, and how do they get to that world-class? And it's through coaching, and it's through intense programmatic approach. And that's what we're doing from a commercial standpoint. So we tackled it head on and said, this is not big brotherish, but there are expectations with the job. And, we found a tool that's super easy to use, and it's compliance has been, once we work through it, has been super easy.
Greg, this is a huge passion of mine. You can't coach what you can't see. The vast majority of us are some sort of sports fans. Pick a sport. There are certain expectations or requirements of a starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers that I accept performance-wise, and then I say, bench him because he's not getting the job done. So, bottom line, if you're showing up and you're doing the right things at the right accounts at the right time with the right frequencies, and the results aren't there, come into my territory, do a ride along with me and see if it's a skill set. Maybe it's positioning. But if I'm putting forth the right effort, you need to come alongside me and go to bat for me. If I'm not doing the core blocking and tackling of fundamental requirements of my job, you got to boot me to the curb, because I'm not doing what I signed up for.
One thing I'd add to that is that when you look at the metrics around it, and if they are getting out and they're seeing the amount of customers, but they're not closing that business, you, as a coach, you can go in and hone in on that area. Hey, let's look at your closing process here. Maybe they're doing something wrong in it. It takes those data sets to get to that level of coaching and coaching management that you can get with MapMy. So that was always something I really valued from, hey, we could go see 50 customers in a day, but if we're not actually closing the business, we have a closing problem, right? So just wanted to add that to the metrics and the data that we were deriving from it. Go ahead, Greg. Sorry.
Like this, a former colleague, I just had a conversation. She had a great line. She's like, a lot of people say there's an art and science to sales. And she's like, I'm just done with the art. She's like, I don't want it to be all science. So I thought that was pretty good. It's along the same lines of you can, if you line up the sales process and you do all the steps, there should be an expectation of a conversion. And maybe that's not 100%. Maybe that's, 60, 70, 80, but I mean, that's still something that you can industrialize and scale.
Yeah, I like that. So I'm going to give you guys a teaser. You guys each have one opportunity to give one piece of advice to the other sales leaders today. I'm going to go first to give you guys time to think through. I'm very opinionated with this. At Map My Customers, we serve a broad range of industries from automotive, manufacturing, distribution, med device, med diagnostics, and a lot of others. It is my opinion that med device, med diagnostic leaders, I'm going to upset a lot of people here, have it easier than the other industries because you have the ability to get data to highlight the top accounts for your own ICP, your ideal customer profile. The easier you make that on your reps to know who to see, when to see, and who to spend time with, results follow. From a coaching standpoint, I love getting coaching that makes me better and perform more successfully. I hate getting coaching on, JT, what'd you do today? That's not helpful for me. Helpful to me is point me in the right direction to spend time with the right accounts. So there's valuable data out there. Make it easy for your reps to see that.
For me, I think the best advice I have is we're heading into the world of AI, and data is becoming so powerful, and productivity is becoming more automated in everything we do. And I always envisioned an opportunity, I think, in the next few years. And I know this is a lot of sales reps out there will not enjoy hearing this, but there will be a way where, they'll wake up, and if there's an RFP, RFI, or even a targeted metric and algorithm to say that will be custom built to say, hey, you need to spend your time here, and this is where you suggest you should go. That's the world that everything is automating and heading to, right? So if you can build the foundation of the data using a MapMy and setting the right expectations, that transfer of expectation of automation to sales is at our doorstep. And I think MapMy is a great tool to transfer to that in the next few years.
Yeah, and I that's a really good one. I think for me, measuring results is inevitably a sales job, right? So are you growing your business, whatever business that you're operating? Are you achieving your quotas? I think the more important step is accurately measuring the important leading indicators. So what are the steps in the sales process that are critical factors to achieving those results? But you got to go more upstream to them. And so activity, field activity, things like what Map My Customer offers are those better leading indicators of commercial activity that will really kind of set you up for the results you're looking for.
Guys, thank you for joining us today. Greg and Brent, always enjoy spending time with you both. Grateful for your willingness to share. Grateful for your leadership. We remain big fans. Please connect with Greg and Brent on LinkedIn. If I can help at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. Find me on LinkedIn. You can email me, you can call me, you can text me. But guys, grateful. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the attendees. Thanks for the questions. Keep us posted with how we can help.